the invisible door between two worlds you didn't know you walked through. Have you ever felt like you're not fully here? Like your body is moving through this world, eating, commuting, talking, but something deeper inside you is constantly glancing somewhere else. You wake up and go about your day, but at unexpected moments, in silence, in noise, or even in the middle of a conversation, you feel a pull, a split, a soft dissonance between where you are and where you feel you belong. This isn't disassociation. It's not escapism. It's something ancient and rare, something we don't talk about enough. It's the experience of living in a dual dimension, a simultaneous existence where your soul is anchored in more than one realm at once. And if you're watching this, I want you to ask yourself, have I ever truly felt like I live in two places at once? Because if you have, you're not crazy. You're just waking up to a truth that most people never even dream of.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
We live in a noisy world that constantly tells us who we are, what we should want, and how we should behave. But some of us, very few, have always felt like actors in a play where the script doesn't quite fit. You might have a deep inner knowing that you're playing a role, saying lines that sound just slightly off from your true voice. That's one of the first signs. You're aware of the performance. You know there's another reality just behind the curtain. And sometimes you catch glimpses of it. Not with your eyes, but with something deeper, your intuitive sight. You're walking down the street, and suddenly the world feels like a simulation. The wind brushes your skin, and it doesn't feel like air. It feels like a message, a code, a whisper from something beyond. And in that moment, for just a second, you feel like you're not just in this world, you're in another one too, layered over this one like a translucent veil. This isn't just imagination. This is a bleed through, a leak from the other realm you're also tethered to. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt like you've known them for centuries? Not years, centuries. You look into their eyes, and it's like staring into a mirror from a past life you can't quite remember but deeply feel. This is another sign. In the dual dimension experience, the soul recognizes itself across timelines, across dimensions. You may even experience dreams that are more vivid than reality dreams, where you're not just imagining, but remembering. Places you've never been feel more like home than the house you grew up in. You're not just dreaming, you're traveling. And when you wake up, there's a residue of truth left on your skin, a scent of a place your feet never touched in this realm. What if those dreams are not dreams at all? What if that version of you, the one running through temples made of light, the one meditating on cliffs that float in starlight, is just as real as this one? And here's where it gets even deeper. Time doesn't function the same for you. You may feel years pass in a single day, or a single day might stretch out like an eternity. You sense events before they happen, or you feel déjà vu so frequently that it no longer surprises you. This isn't coincidence. It's temporal overlap. It's a symptom of your consciousness being partially rooted in another dimension where time flows differently. In that other realm, you may have already experienced what's about to happen here. That's why your intuition is so sharp, because it's memory, not guesswork. You are remembering the future. Think about that. What if your intuition is not a gift, but simply a form of recall from another version of you who already walked this path? Now let me ask you a question that may shake you to your core. What if your current life is the dream and the other realm is the waking world? What if everything you've been taught to believe about reality is reversed? This is not metaphorical, it's literal. In dual dimension experiences, the boundaries between waking and dreaming, between memory and prophecy, between reality and illusion become increasingly fluid. You stop asking, "Is this real?" and start asking, "Which version of real am I in right now?" And that's where the journey truly begins. Because once you become aware of the duality, you start receiving messages, symbols, patterns. You'll see the same numbers over and over: 11, 11, 11, 222, 303. You'll hear the same song in different places. You'll meet strangers who speak words you were just thinking. Don't brush these off. These are not coincidences. These are signposts. The other realm is trying to communicate with you. It's calling you home, not to escape this world, but to integrate the two. You might begin to feel overwhelming waves of emotion with no clear cause. One moment, joy. The next, sorrow. Then deep, inexplicable peace. These aren't mood swings. These are emotional echoes from your other self. That version of you existing in the parallel space is going through its own journey, and because you are connected, you feel the ripples. Most people will tell you to get grounded or calm down when this happens. But I'm telling you, lean in. Feel it. Ask your higher self, "What are you trying to show me?" Because the emotions are not random. They are messages encoded in feeling. The language of the soul is not words, it is vibration. You may also notice that certain places charge you energetically. You step into an ancient forest or walk by the ocean, and suddenly you feel an electric hum inside you. That hum is remembrance. Your other self is awake in those places, and the connection strengthens. You may even find yourself instinctively drawn to sacred sites without knowing why. Temples, mountains, deserts. These are dimensional bridges, portals. Thin places where the veil is easier to pierce. And when you stand there, you're not just standing in one world. You're standing in two. That's why your heart races, why your skin tingles, why your mind suddenly goes silent. Because you're remembering who and what you really are: a traveler, a messenger, a soul with one foot in the physical and the other in the eternal. And the strange part, you likely feel alone in this. Like no one around you truly understands what you're experiencing. You try to explain it, and people look at you with polite confusion or worse, concern. But let me say this clearly, you are not alone. In fact, the very fact that you've made it to this message right now proves that you're being guided. You're part of a hidden network of souls awakening to their true nature. And the more you embrace this duality, the less alone you'll feel, because the universe will begin to mirror your awakening back to you. You'll meet others. You'll find the teachers, the books, the signs. You'll see that you were never crazy. You were just ahead of the curve. So I want you to sit with this tonight. What if you are living two lives right now? What if the missing pieces of your puzzle are not missing, they're just scattered across dimensions, waiting for you to remember how to retrieve them? You are not broken. You are multidimensional, and that is your power. Decoding the glitches, when reality breaks to deliver a message. You've probably experienced this before, moments when reality doesn't behave the way it should. You walk into a room and forget why you entered, but the feeling isn't just forgetfulness. It's like you stepped into a different version of that room. You feel a shift. The air is heavier or thinner. The light bends differently. Or maybe you hear a sound that no one else hears, a faint ringing, a whisper, a tone that seems to come from nowhere. These are not errors. These are glitches in the matrix, and they're not accidents. They are messages. They are codes. They are the universe's way of tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, pay attention." Because when you live in a dual dimension experience, the seams of reality become visible. You see the cracks. You feel the codes pulsing under the surface of what everyone else calls real. Have you ever had a moment where time froze? Not metaphorically, literally. You're walking, and suddenly the world moves in slow motion. Or it stops entirely. A bird in the sky seems to hover without flapping. A car on the road passes like it's underwater. In those moments, you're not hallucinating. You're slipping. You're sinking with the other side of your experience. Time is not linear in the other realm. It's elastic, spiraling, layered. And when your frequency begins to match your other self, you slip out of the timeline that everyone else is in. You touch the eternal. That's why it feels so strange. That's why it feels sacred, because it is. It's a sacred break in the simulation where your soul is breathing through the cracks. Many people in this experience begin to notice repeating patterns. You see the same person 3 times in one day. You hear the same phrase from 3 different mouths. You look at the time, and it's always 4:44 or 11:11. Listen, this is not your mind playing tricks. This is synchronicity. And synchronicity is the language of the dual dimension. It's how your higher self communicates with you across realities. It's how the unseen world brushes up against your visible one. When you live in 2 dimensions, you don't just get messages, you become the message. Your life becomes a walking symbol, a moving mandala of interconnected signs, and the more you pay attention, the clearer the conversation becomes. But here's where it gets challenging. The more awake you become to this reality, the more the old reality begins to fall apart. And that can feel terrifying. You might lose interest in things that used to bring you joy. Relationships that once felt vital might begin to feel heavy or hollow. You might even feel like you're unraveling. But you're not breaking down, you're breaking open. You're shedding a version of yourself that only existed in one dimension and making room for the version of you that can hold both realms at once. That's why it hurts. That's why it's confusing. Because you're dying and being born at the same time. Not physically, but spiritually, energetically, cosmically. Let me ask you something that only someone walking this path can answer. Have you ever felt homesick for a place you don't remember? A deep ache in your chest for somewhere that doesn't exist on any map? That's your other self calling. That homesickness is not a flaw, it's a compass. It's guiding you inward, not outward. The place you miss is not on this earth, it's a frequency, a vibration, a state of being that you once knew in the other dimension and are now trying to remember here. That's why meditation, music, nature, and silence feel so healing, because they help you tune back in. They help you remember the feeling of that other place. And once you remember the feeling, you can find your way back, even without knowing the path. Sometimes, the dual dimension experience reveals itself through people. You meet someone, and their energy feels ancient, familiar. They say things that shake you, or they trigger you deeply without trying. These are not random people. These are soul mirrors, reflections of other aspects of you, walking around in different bodies. Some are here to activate you. Some are here to test you. Some are here to remind you. And some are here to walk with you between the worlds. These connections are rare, and when they appear, don't let your mind get in the way. Let your soul lead, because your mind will try to explain it, but your soul already knows. You may also start experiencing physical symptoms with no medical explanation. Ringing in the ears, sudden fatigue, heart palpitations, or sensations of heat rising through your body. These are not always illnesses. These are upgrades. Your body is trying to keep up with the frequency of your soul. Your nervous system is adapting to hold more energy. Your heart is expanding to feel more than just individual emotions. It's beginning to process collective feeling. Your DNA is remembering how to interface with energies from beyond this plane. This can be overwhelming, and you might think something is wrong. But what if, instead of asking what's wrong with me, you asked, what's awakening in me? And when your dreams become more vivid than your waking life, pay attention. Because in the dual dimension state, dreams are not just subconscious noise, they're classrooms. You're being taught, trained, shown things that your waking mind isn't ready to process. You may wake up with a symbol etched into your memory, a snake, a key, a door, a number. Don't dismiss it. Write it down. Sit with it. Ask yourself, what does this mean from a higher perspective? Because your other self is leaving breadcrumbs. And your job is not to decode with logic, but to remember with intuition. It's important to know that not everyone will understand what you're going through. And that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to remember for everyone. You're a bridge, a translator, a traveler between the seen and unseen. And the more you embrace this, the more power you reclaim. Not power over others, but power over your own perception, your own energy, your own reality. Because when you know you're living in two dimensions, you stop being a victim of this one. You begin to create from both. And here's the final truth for this part. You chose this experience, this awakening, this duality. Before you were born, your soul said yes. You knew it would be confusing, lonely, beautiful, transformative. You knew you'd forget, and then remember, and then forget again. But you also knew that when you started remembering, your life would begin to shimmer with magic. And you'd start to see what others can't. Not because you're better, but because you're meant to show them the way. Not by preaching, but by being, by embodying, by remembering who you are fully. So tonight, as you lay in bed before you fall asleep, ask yourself the most powerful question you can ask on this path. Who am I in the other world? And what am I trying to show myself in this one? Then listen, not with your ears, with your entire being. The answer will come, maybe in a dream, maybe in a sign, maybe in a silence so deep it shakes you. But it will come, because once you start asking the right questions, the universe responds. The sacred mission of the dual traveler, why you were chosen to walk between worlds. If you've made it this far, then something inside you already knows you are not here by accident. The strange experiences, the whispers of other worlds, the dreams that feel more real than daylight, the invisible pull towards something you cannot name, all of it is pointing to one truth. You were chosen, not in the way that inflates the ego, but in the way that humbles the soul. You were selected by your own higher self, long before this body was born, to walk a path few dare to walk. The path of the dual traveler. The one who lives in two dimensions at once. The one who remembers what others have forgotten. The one who carries a sacred mission, even if they don't fully understand it yet. Let's be honest, this experience can feel isolating. While others chase careers, money, status, and validation, you often find yourself staring at the stars or sitting in silence, feeling everything and nothing at the same time. You're not lazy. You're not lost. You're tuning into subtler frequencies. You're accessing the other realm even while your body sits still. And the world might not understand that, but you didn't come here to fit in. You came here to anchor something. You came to bring light from the unseen into the seen. You are a translation device for the infinite, a bridge between the mystical and the mundane. And that mission is not easy, but it is necessary. The dual dimension experience is not just for your own growth, it's for the elevation of collective consciousness. When you feel emotions that don't belong to you, when you sense energies in a room before a word is spoken, when you know what someone is about to say before they say it, that's not just empathy. That's spiritual surveillance. You're scanning the field, you're absorbing the data, and you're transmuting it. That's one of your hidden powers. You don't just feel things, you alchemize them. You take in fear and release peace. You absorb silence and pulse out insight. You receive confusion and return clarity. That is the role of a soul who walks between dimensions to harmonize what is fragmented. But here's the deeper truth. You can't do this if you're constantly doubting yourself. The greatest challenge of the dual traveler is not the experience, it's the self-trust. Because the signs are subtle. The messages are quiet. The synchronicities are easy to explain away. And if you're not careful, the noise of the physical world will drown out the whispers of the other. That's why your practices are not optional, they're essential. Daily grounding, meditation, journaling, nature. These are not hobbies. They are lifelines. They are the tools that keep your inner channel open. Because when your inner channel is clear, the messages flow. And when the messages flow, your mission becomes clearer. Let me ask you something bold. What if your entire life has been orchestrated for this moment? The pain, the confusion, the breakdowns, the breakthroughs, what if they were not detours but training? What if every heartbreak was a portal? What if every loss was an initiation? What if the worst parts of your story were actually the moments you were being prepared to carry the light you now hold? You see, when you live in 2 dimensions, you don't just experience life, you decode it. You see the lessons inside the chaos. You see the patterns in the pain. And that's why your scars become sacred, because they carry codes. And those codes awaken others. There's something else you need to know. There are others like you, all across the planet, quietly waking up, quietly remembering, quietly wondering if they're alone. But they're not. You're not. We are scattered, yes. But we are connected by frequency. When you begin to live from the heart of both worlds, you send out a pulse, a signal that others can feel. That's why people are drawn to you without knowing why. That's why strangers tell you their life stories. That's why children and animals feel safe in your presence. Your frequency is different. It's multi-layered. It carries the resonance of truth, and truth has a gravitational pull. You may have noticed that you're no longer interested in surface-level conversations. It's not that you're antisocial, it's that your soul is hungry. You crave depth. You want to talk about timelines, karma, multidimensionality, consciousness, healing, energy. Because you remember. Maybe not in words, maybe not in logic, but you remember in your being. And when you meet someone else who remembers, even a little, something inside you lights up like a coded lock turning open. That's not chemistry. That's recognition. That's soul memory. And that's why community is so important for you now. Find your mirrors. Find your tribe. You don't need many, just a few who see you in both worlds. Now let's talk about purpose. Everyone wants to know their purpose. But for the dual traveler, purpose is not a single career or task, it's a state of being. Your purpose is to hold the frequency of the other dimension, even when the world around you is in chaos. Your purpose is to remember, even when others forget. Your purpose is to be the portal through which divine energy flows into this world. And yes, that can take many forms: healing, teaching, creating, leading, loving, but the essence is always the same. You are a walking bridge. And bridges don't choose what crosses them. They simply remain open, stable, and willing. There will be days when you want to give up, when the weight of 2 realities feels like too much, when nothing makes sense and you feel like you're floating between worlds with no anchor. In those moments, I want you to remember this: you are not broken, you are expanding. You are not lost, you are navigating a map most people don't even know exists. And you are not alone, we are walking beside you, silently, in sync, in soul. Ask yourself this tonight: what would I do if I fully trusted that I am here to awaken others just by being myself? What would change? What would I stop hiding? What light would I stop dimming? Because the world doesn't need another version of normal. It needs the raw, radiant, multidimensional you. You are not a mistake. You are a message. You are not behind. You are right on time. You are not too much. You are exactly what this moment in human evolution requires. And the more you embrace the truth of your dual existence, the more the universe will conspire to support you. Miracles won't feel miraculous, they'll feel natural. Synchronicities won't surprise you, they'll feel like conversations. And your life? It will no longer feel like something happening to you. It will feel like something you are consciously co-creating across realms. So when the next glitch happens, when the next moment of déjà vu strikes, when the next dream leaves you shaken or inspired, don't brush it off. Lean in, pause, ask, what is being shown to me from the other side? Because the more you ask, the more you'll receive. The more you receive, the more you'll remember. And the more you remember, the more others will remember too, just by being in your presence. You are the remembering. You are the bridge. You are the code. And it's time to walk fully, unapologetically, between both worlds. Living as the portal, how to thrive in both dimensions without losing yourself. To live as a portal between two dimensions is not to constantly escape into the mystical nor collapse into the material, it's to master the sacred art of integration. This is where your real power is cultivated. Not in floating away into cosmic visions, and not in getting consumed by the noise of the physical world, but in standing at the crossroads and holding both truths at once. You are human, yes, bound by time, gravity, language, and the texture of physical life. But you are also infinite vibrational, eternal, capable of bending time with your thoughts and healing with your presence alone. The challenge is not choosing one over the other. The challenge is to live as both, fully and fearlessly. And that begins by making peace with the paradox. You can eat breakfast and be divine. You can pay a bill and still be channeling cosmic intelligence. You can cry over heartbreak and simultaneously feel the universe breathing through your lungs. You are not here to transcend this world, you are here to infuse it with the frequency of the other. Every conversation, every step, every breath becomes a sacred act when you remember who you really are. And when you do, your life becomes the temple. Your body becomes the altar. Your presence becomes the prayer. This is not something you do once and master. You will forget. You will fall back into the illusion. You will feel lost again. But the dual dimension traveler doesn't seek perfection. They seek awareness. And with each return to remembrance, your alignment strengthens. You begin to walk through the world with a calm that others can't explain. You begin to move with purpose even when you don't have a plan. People will begin to feel safer around you, more open, more honest. That's because your energy no longer belongs only to this dimension. It carries the resonance of a realm where truth is the default frequency. And that's what heals people. Not your words, not your answers, but your embodied remembrance. The more you align with both worlds, the less you need to prove anything. Your life becomes your teaching. Your peace becomes your message. And the best part, you'll start to attract others who are walking the same path. It won't be loud. It won't be obvious. But your soul will know. You'll look into their eyes and see the same ache, the same light, the same memory of something beyond the veil. And in that moment, without speaking, you'll know we're not alone anymore. And then everything changes. Not because the world got easier, but because you finally remembered why you came.